Hello and welcome. Today we are going to talk about FAQ on professional practice, temporary works. All FAQ information shared in this talk is directly sourced from the official Board of Engineers Malaysia, BEM, website. Disclaimer: this talk merely reads out the FAQ content. No responsibility is assumed by the producer for its accuracy, interpretation, or application. How do I differentiate between permanent works and temporary works in construction? Refer to BEM Guidelines 001, the role and responsibility of professional engineers for temporary works during construction stage. As independent checking engineer, ICE, to carry out checking of all design works by the submitting person, PEPC, who are the design consultant for the project, am I responsible to check on temporary works by the contractor? As independent checking engineer, ICE, the scope of work shall be clearly stated in your appointment letter. By default, the ICE shall carry out check on the analyses and design of permanent works submitted by the submitting person only. ICE can also highlight to the submitting person on any missing or lacking of the design of the permanent works. Unless otherwise stated in the scope of works, temporary works are not within the scope of works of ICE in terms of design or construction. As a PEPC engaged by the contractor to design the temporary works for a construction project, can I make use of the site personnel employed by contractor to supervise the temporary works designed by me? PEPC shall be responsible for the supervision. The supervision can be carried out by the site personnel who have the necessary experience, qualification, and registered with the BEM either as professional engineer, graduate engineer, engineering technologist, or inspector of works, IOW. The submitting person, PEPC, shall be satisfied that the site personnel representing him to carry out supervision comply to the following criteria. Take instruction and direction from the PEPC, and report back to the PEPC on the supervision works. Act on behalf of the PEPC on the supervision works. As long as all the criteria above are fulfilled, employment by either the PEPC or the client or contractor then seconded to PEPC is acceptable. Therefore, the site personnel employed by the contractor can represent the PEPC provided the site personnel fulfilled all the criteria above. As the submitting person, PEPC, of the project, what shall I do to ensure the safety of temporary works by the contractor? The submitting person, PEPC, of the project can refer to Guidelines 001, the role and responsibility of professional engineers for temporary works during construction stage, published by BEM, to see what are the classification of the temporary works at site in terms of risk to the safety of worker and public. The submitting person, PEPC, shall ensure that for temporary works that could affect the safety and health of workers and public shall be designed, endorsed and supervised by the professional engineer with practicing certificate for temporary works, PTW, engaged by the contractor. It is advisable that the submitting person, PEPC, includes this requirement during tender so the contractor can price and fulfill these requirements and other relevant regulations, e.g. BOAC, to protect workers and public safety and health. As a submitting person, PEPC, of a project in which the contractor carrying out the construction works has already engaged a PEPC to design and endorse the temporary works, PTW, as defined in BEM Guidelines 001, the role and responsibility of professional engineers for temporary works during construction stage, do I still have to check and supervise the temporary works? If the contractor has appointed a professional engineer with practicing certificate, PTW, to design and supervise the temporary works, then the responsibility of the safety of the temporary works including design, endorsement and supervision are solely under the PTW. As a submitting person, PEPC, of the project, your responsibility is only on the permanent works, thus you do not need to check or supervise the temporary works.
If you like our content, kindly like, share and subscribe.